it was fun. But yeah, anyway, this is one of those right-wing things. Came from Ben Johnson, who, if you know Ben Johnson, he's a piece of shit. He's the 10 Kamala Harris lies that mediators let slide.
Oh boy.
I have notes on this one. I
can't wait.
I have so many. This is the thing that, like I said, I have so many notes. I could do a full main channel video just on this. And yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock, which is normally when we would end originally. So yeah, I'm not going to go into the preamble, but first lie: late term abortion is a myth. They say nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy determined asking for an abortion. Harris dodged. So now this is one of the things where she could have done better if she had more time, because this is a very nuanced issue. This is not something that is like cut and dried. We're like, yeah, no, we don't do late-term abortions, or we do late-term abortions. This is, late-term abortions make up less than 1% of abortions, and they are usually because of medical emergencies, and they are people that desperately wanted to have the child, but found out that they can't for one reason or another.
And so they didn't have any choice.
There wasn't enough time for her to explain that in the time that was given, because the format was kind of shit. But yeah, and 6 states have no legal limit on protecting unborn children. The rest allow abortion after the point of viability, thanks to a vague and expansive health of the mother exception, which is literally the whole medically necessary thing. Like, hey, my baby doesn't have a brain, but it still technically has a heartbeat, so I can't abort it in Texas, even though me carrying it to term is going to endanger my life. Well, sorry, abortions are illegal, and that counts as an abortion.
Yep. Yep. And of course, in multiple states, this was a thing that like pissed me off during the debate. Was that when the abortion thing was brought up, Trump tried to point out that everybody wanted me to bring it back to the states. Now the states are voting.
No, they fucking didn't. He even admitted right in the thing that was like, they all voted like more liberal than we would think. It's like, yeah, the states that have had votes, lots of states have not had votes. They just had trigger laws that went into effect, and nobody's challenged them yet, because like it takes a lot of fucking money to challenge them. And the people that are in desperate need of abortions don't necessarily have a lot of fucking money.
The reason that got me, though, was multiple states that currently have these bans are attempting to prevent travel to other states in order to get these, in order to get to that,
Suris. This is what most of the fact checks against Harris are, is abortion related. So yeah, then they say the pro-life advocates found the remains of 5 babies whom abortionist Carl Caesar Santangelo aborted late in their term or possibly after birth at the Washington Surgery Clinic in Washington, D.C. The Biden-Harris Justice Department advised... God damn it, I can't read... advised the District of Columbia to destroy the evidence. It's not what happened. So there were 5 babies' remains found. They were not found at the clinic. They were stolen by Lauren Handy, who... we covered her before. I remember joking about having like Handy being her last name being appropriate for someone who's anti-abortion. It's like, yeah, if you just give handies, you don't need an abortion. But she stole the remains of over 100 aborted fetuses from a clinic, and she decided that 5 of them looked old enough that they could potentially have been viable. And
why were you stealing fetuses?
She said that they may have been aborted post-birth. However, she's not a doctor. She's not qualified to make that determination. She has no expertise in the field. And the DC medical examiner, who is a doctor, determined that all 5 of those babies were aborted legally, which means that they were not viable, or they were not able to, like, it was legal to abort them. It wasn't infanticide. They weren't. And then as far as destroy evidence goes, I assume that just means like cremating the fetuses when they're done with them. Because like, what the fuck else would you do with them?
Like, what? We're not just sitting here holding on to a bunch of fetuses.
They're not just going to stick them in a freezer for all eternity. They got to do something with them. Like she tried to do. Yeah, that is what she's tried to do. But like, yeah, no, doctors say that, and like, nope, this was illegal abortion. Like, I don't know what you're doing, stealing dead fetuses, but like that's kind of gross. And then nope, I didn't highlight it for some reason. Oh yeah, so a 1981 Philadelphia Inquirer article documented that in abortion facilities, unintended live births are literally an everyday occurrence, but they are hushed up instead of treated as a problem to be solved. The first thing that stuck out to me here is that they had to go all the way back to 1981.
Yeah, we had to go back, what, 42, 43 years?
Yeah, like abortion techniques have evolved a bit since then. We don't do them the same way anymore. Now, that being said, I actually looked up a study it specifically looked at Quebec for some reason, but live births do happen sometimes with abortion. They are exceedingly rare. They're only likely in the second trimester. That's according to a 2024 NIH report. Now, the Philadelphia Inquirer article that they're linking to here, they just flat out lie about the situation going on. So like one of the main cases that they study is a doctor in Omaha who they say that a baby was born living and crying, and then they just put a naked baby on a sink draining board in a utility room with dirty bedpans and dirty laundry and left it to die, and it took 2.5 hours for it to die. What actually happened...
That's better than them claiming the baby came out. Take the fork. It's better than them claiming that.
So what actually happened there was that the nurse that was attending the abortion, it was a live baby. So what she did was she clamped and cut the umbilical cord. They took it to the delivery area of the clinic. They bathed the baby. They baptized it. They swaddled it, and they put it in a warmer. But because it was so premature, it died. Because that's what happens to premature babies a lot. Like being born premature is a huge risk factor.
They did what they could to save its life, and then it didn't.
Yeah, survive. But like it had zero chance of survival from the get-go. But they made it comfortable.
Okay.
They made it as comfortable as they possibly could. So what little life it had was at least not suffering. They also say
just sounds reasonable.
Yeah. They also say more than 56,000 abortions took place after 21 weeks, according to the most recent CDC report. I looked at that report. That was the CDC abortion surveillance thing. They actually got that wrong by an order of magnitude.
Really?
The report doesn't give an actual number. They just say that it's 0.9% of abortions in 2021 happened after 21 weeks, which if you do the math on the number of abortions that they reported in 2021, that works out to 5,600 abortions, not 56,000. So they're off by an order of magnitude there. Which,
of course,
easy enough mistake to make, but that's a huge difference.
It's an easy mistake to make until you take it to scale. Until you try to look into how big the mistake is.
Yeah. Then they say abortions after birth don't happen, is a claim that Kamala made that they're saying is false. So Donald Trump cited comments made by a former Virginia governor about allowing babies born alive during birth to die, a position Trump called execution after birth. But like, no, abortions after birth don't actually happen because the actual federal law is that if a baby is alive after an abortion procedure, it must be treated as the patient with life-saving measures being taken, including calling 911 to transport the baby to a neonatal intensive care unit to keep it alive, if possible. Like that is the law of the land.
That is now a United States citizen and must be treated as such.
Yeah. Essentially. Okay. So the Virginia governor quote, which Trump got from, so they'll say Ralph Northam said that if a baby is born alive during a botched abortion, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother about the child's future. Notice where the quotes end there, because that's not what he actually said. Also, this was specifically with reference to a non-viable fetus. In other words, a baby for which it is impossible for it to live outside the womb. So
Okay.
like the conversation that happens between the mother and the doctor is, what can we do to make this baby as comfortable as possible for
While
its
it dies.
for its incredibly short life, because it is impossible for it to live.
Yeah, which is a reasonable conversation to have, because if the mother wanted to have the child and they were not able to have the child because of unfortunate circumstances like this, then they're going to want the best for them possible for as long as they can, which is not going to be a whole lot of time, but still. There's going to be questions of like, hey, do you want to hold it? Things like that.
So Northam was the governor of Virginia. He is a medical doctor. However, he has never been an abortion provider, so he's never been in this situation himself. And also this quote, combined with blackface pictures of him, came out around the same time. And so there was bipartisan calls for him to resign. He never did. He ended up losing an election. But yeah, everybody, like, nobody liked Northam. Everybody wanted him to go.
Go figure. Go fucking figure. You
So-
be a shitlord. Everybody's going to want you out of your office.
The guy that Trump is quoting, or misquoting, when he says that, like, oh, the baby is born and they swaddle it and then they have a conversation about whether or not to execute the baby. The guy he quotes for that, everybody fucking hated him and wanted him to leave. And like he was never in a position where he would actually know what happens in an abortion. But then they say in 2013, a lobbyist representing the Florida Alliance of Planned Parenthood affiliates, Elisa Snow, testified before the Florida House of Representatives that even if a baby was alive, breathing on a table and moving, we believe that any decision that's made, end quote, about administering the treatment of the newborn, begin quote again, should be left up to the woman, her family, and the physician. That decision should be between the patient and the healthcare provider. So if you watch the video that they fucking link here, she answered the question. They asked her, what happens if a baby's born alive? Her answer to that question was, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. And they said, but you're a lobbyist representing the doctors. And she said, yeah, but I don't know the answer to that question because I'm not a doctor. And then they said, but you need to answer the question, though. And
I did.
So they badgered her until they got her to say, like, yeah, no, like, the decision would be made between the doctor and the patient. Like, they had to push her into answering a question to which she said, I don't know what the answer to that question is. And then her answer was not 100% accurate. And they're like, aha!
Because that's all that they had.
Yeah, no, like, she literally said, I don't know. I'm not the doctor. I don't know what happens in that situation. I'm not prepared to answer this question. Maybe, like, you could argue that maybe she should have been prepared since she's a lobbyist for Planned Parenthood. Sure, you can argue that. But saying she wasn't prepared to answer a question is not the same as saying that her answer is the be-all and end-all of how abortion works.
Also, if you're a lobbyist for something, that doesn't mean you need to be an expert for it. You just have to recognize that there are experts that know enough about it. I can say this having gone and fucking lobbied. You're not expected to be an expert in anything when you are lobbying, when you are phone banking, when you are campaigning. You're not expected to be an expert in these things. You're expected to have talking points. You're expected to have notes. You're expected to have some kind of base knowledge. But when it comes to specifics, that is not something that is expected in any of those situations, except by people who are looking for some kind of a gotcha. Just from fucking experience.
Yeah. So she said, I don't know. And they said, answer it anyway. And then she gave an answer that they can use for their propaganda.
Your answer was unsatisfactory. Of course it was.
Yeah. And they say in 2019, Senator Harris voted against the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which requires abortionists to provide potentially life-saving care to babies born during botched abortions. So the thing about that is that that's an updated version of the Born Alive Infants Protection Act, which is already the law. It was signed into law by George Bush in 2005. The 2019 version that Harris voted against, the only thing that it changed was it was looking to add prison sentences to doctors found to be in violation.
Okay.
And this is one of those things that Republicans have introduced to Congress for every single Congress since, I think, 2015. And every time it's failed spectacularly. Like, Republicans vote against it. So, like, it's one of those things where
so what do they want?
It's a PR bill where they introduce it purely so that they can say, hey, this Democrat voted against this thing with a title that sounds like a thing that you want. Like, that's all
Christ.
it is. And then they say official statistics show that 277 babies were born alive during abortions. That number, it's unclear when the end date on that is, but that's like since 2006. And the paper that's published in is in 2024. It was published, so I'm guessing that is from 2006 to 2024. But they never actually say what the end date is.
Okay.
So it's a bit sketchy because it's like I say paper, but it's from the Family Research Council, which not exactly an unbiased organization.
No, that sounds like the thing that I'm going to be honest. Anytime that I hear that a organization has family in the name now, it's a red flag to me. And that shouldn't be the case, but it is a red flag to me now.
It absolutely is. 100%. Yeah, and I assume that's why they didn't say when the end date was of that, so they can leave it ambiguous. But yeah, that works out to 16. Like if we assume that goes to 2023, that's 16 babies born per year that were alive after an abortion procedure, which is tragic. It's traumatizing for the nurses that have to deal with that. Oftentimes the abortion clinics, if that happens, they provide counseling services to the nurses because it is kind of a mess up scenario. But like, let's be real here. Abortions that are happening late enough that the baby could potentially survive outside the womb for a little bit are not because the person was just like, yeah, no, I had sex and I just wanted to get rid of the results of that. These are people who wanted the baby,
really that many
and it's not viable for one reason or another. It's not convenience abortions, it's medically necessary abortions. Not that really matters, but that's the point, that like they try and spin this as though these are just like, oh, my career would be impacted if I had this baby, so I'm gonna murder it in a sink in the dirty laundry room. Like, no, it's actually someone who really wanted a baby that it wasn't viable for one reason or another, and so like abortion had to happen for healthcare purposes. So like it's really
the only option they had left was this.
And like this is one of those things where it's like, I have empathy for the people that have to perform these abortions. I have empathy for the people who really wanted a baby, and then after an abortion they have a fetus that's sitting there crying like a normal baby but can't possibly survive anymore. That's got to be a fucking traumatizing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are using it for political points. Fuck you. You pieces of shit.
Dragonix in my chat says, freedom, family, and patriot. If I see any of those three, they are red flags.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going pee now. I'm expecting you to not leave a time bomb for me to discover of you like narrating the thing. Okay, for the record, if I miss the toilet, which does sometimes happen, watering can disorder is a real thing that happens to men sometimes, especially I'm not circumcised, so like there's extra stuff that gets in the way sometimes. I clean up after myself.
Cheese in the way.
I clean up after myself. No, not cheese. I showered today, Suris. Might have been the first time in a month, but I showered today.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Actually, did you know that for uncircumcised men, one of the best ways to keep under the foreskin clean is to masturbate in the shower?
I mean, that makes sense.
You're scrubbing.
I'm gonna scrub 11 times.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. I'm not gonna get it. Anyway, please don't narrate what you think I'm doing in the bathroom while I'm gone this time.
I won't narrate what I think you're doing. I'll narrate what I know you're doing.
God damn it, Suris. Fuck you.
Oh boy. Dither says, I'm so glad I was there for that conversation last week. So unironically, when I woke up like the day afterwards, and the first thing in my inbox was Rhino going, God damn it, Suris, just or something to that effect. Let me see exactly what it was, because I remember being very confused for just about a second, because I didn't remember doing it for just a little bit of time. I was sorry, it was God damn it, Suris, why would you do that? So I had to go, what? The narration while I was peeing. I'll have you know I always wipe up. Like, oh, okay. So the issue that you had was not that I narrated fan fiction of you peeing. The problem you had is that I was inaccurate with the fan fiction. Van Brigg says, do it, Suris. Miralana says, don't just narrate it, but do it in song. There once was a rhino who grabbed his junk. He tried to throw it. Like, I can't ad-lib singing. I can't ad-lib singing very well. I might be able to. God, I need like a little bit of prep if I was going to sing about that shit. Right? Is it a really good shower and you can rinse at the same time? Does this mean you're a fan of Rhino peeing? No. Mira Fern Captain Rhino's chat says that was the worst ASMR ever. Oh boy. See, at this point, says Sumbrinus. Fedix says you need to improve your improv skills. Look, if I were to actually narrate the singing, let's say for a minute that I was able to narrate the singing, right? If I were able to do it, I would technically be doing the exact thing Rhino didn't want me to do. So I'm not going to do that, as funny as it might be.
What's funny?
I was asked to narrate what you were doing in the bathroom, but to do it in song.
So, fun fact, I discovered that one of the kids had not flushed after pooping just now.
Oh, so they Kent Hovened. Oh, well. You remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Kent went to he went to some other like TV personality in a different country's
Zada Hagal says Scrub-a-Dub-Dub.
Went to some other TV personality's TV program in another country, and when Ken Hoven sat down, the other guy sat down after the break and just went, so I have to ask you a question, Mr. Hoven. If you leave something in a toilet in America, do you not flush it? And just Kent, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm saying if you happen to leave something in the toilet, let's say it's not in your house and you're in America, is it customary in America to not flush your own excrement down the toilet? And Kent's just getting like watching Kent Hoven get visibly flustered because somebody's making him talk about his dookie.
I mean,
is wonderful.
Godless Engineer did that with whale penises. And what's funny is that Hoven brought it up first. So, John just ran with it.
Jasper said, when was this? So I don't remember the exact moment that it happened or the exact clip, but I can tell you who does. There is one member of our friend group who is a Hoven aficionado, and that would be Paul. 100% I bet you Paulogia knows exactly when and where that moment happened.
He is obsessive enough that, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so lie number 3 of 10 that they say is that pro-life protections prevent miscarriage care. So referring to Harris talking about women being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail. Now notice this is a very short section compared to the other one. Mm-hmm. They just say no pro-life law in the nation prohibits doctors from caring for miscarriages, which is technically true. However, they are so vague that the doctors don't know what counts as caring for a miscarriage when the health of the mother is in danger versus what would count as an abortion that wasn't necessary. And so a lot of doctors are like, I need to keep my medical license, so I don't know what the rules are here, so I'm just going to say no, I don't do any abortions. So yeah, they don't explicitly prohibit caring for miscarriages, but the actual real world effect of these laws is that they do. And the example she gave of a woman being told she had to wait until her life was in enough danger to qualify for an abortion was a real example. In fact, I can't even tell you which example she was thinking of because there are so goddamn many of them that it's hard to pinpoint because she didn't get specific enough with the details. Was it the person who was told to go wait in her car? Probably, because she mentioned going to the car, but then there was a woman in Texas who, the baby died, but still technically had a heartbeat, or her water broke, but the baby wouldn't be viable at that point, but she had a heartbeat.
Any situation.
And these were people that were like, every single case, it was someone who was desperate to have children because they wanted children, but something went wrong with the pregnancy and an abortion was the healthcare option that was necessary. And the doctors were like, I don't know if I'm legally allowed to do this, so I'm not going to do this. And
because that's the safe thing to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. So,
which sucks.
Well, in Texas, providing an abortion could potentially get you sentenced to life in prison.
Yep.
And similar stories have come from Oklahoma, Florida, and Louisiana. Any freaking red state that has anti-abortion laws on the books, you can find stories like this in. I'm going to quote, there was a 2023 paper. The link's not in the description, but if you do a search for PMID, that's PubMed identification number, it's 38115843. You'll find the paper for this. And so what they say is maternal death rates in abortion restriction states were 62% higher than in states with greater abortion access. So anti-abortion laws cause
people.
They kill people.
Yeah, they just kill people.
They just kill people.
There's
People
no
die.
ifs, ands, or buts. It ends in
So
death.
Pro-life protections prevent miscarriage care. Yes. Pro-choice protections keep people alive. And they also lower the number of abortions. So like, remember that 1981 paper? Or it wasn't a paper, it was a news article that like lied about the babies being put on like a draining board in the dirty linen closet.
That one I don't remember at all. Jesus.
I talked about that like 10 minutes ago.
The one you talked. I thought this.
Yeah,
was
where like the actual thing was they swaddled the baby and put it in a warmer and kept it comfortable. But the people writing in 1981 were like, they put him in a dirty linen closet where they empty bedpans.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely not true. So at that time, there were like over 1 million abortions performed per year. Today, there's less than 600,000 performed per year, and the population's gone up. So per capita abortion rates have plummeted as abortion access has increased. So like, if you want fewer abortions,
you just give
provide
better abortion
sex
access.
ed, provide women's health clinics, provide like, if you provide for all these, like all the stuff that Planned Parenthood does, provide all that shit, and abortion numbers actually go down. And they have been consistently going down.
But they don't want that because that is counterintuitive to their narrative.
Yeah. And then lie number 4 that she apparently told was Donald Trump would have the government monitor pregnancies and miscarriages. So this is one of those things.
But that's the thing that they're trying to do.
So this is one of those things where, technically speaking, it doesn't explicitly say in Project 2025 that they would do that. Now, they don't talk about the Comstock laws that Project 2025 absolutely says that they would try to enforce again. They just talk about how Project 2025 wants to just like be more strict about the abortion surveillance statistics, which like fine, whatever. But they also want to enforce the Comstock laws, which they would monitor mail that's sent through USPS, and it would basically render the mailing of abortion medication illegal. But also, a lot of the anti-abortion laws that are already on the books have provisions for allowing law enforcement to find out whether or not you were pregnant in the course of their investigation to determine whether or not you had an abortion. So like, it might not be like actively monitoring people's pregnancies to see whether or not you are about to have an abortion, but if you have an abortion, they could look into like they could be investigating whether or not you were pregnant. and looking at social media, looking at fucking like this is one of those the period tracking apps. If they
it's one
like,
of those things where it's not expressly said, but if you look at the actions they're taking, the logical next thing that happens is exactly what you described.
Under these laws, it would be perfectly legal for police to subpoena records from some of the period tracking apps to see whether or not you missed a period, to determine whether or not you had an illegal abortion. So like, yeah, no, they're not explicitly saying we are going to monitor your pregnancy, but there are provisions in the law and protections for law enforcement that effectively render that monitoring whether or not people are pregnant. So like
it's very, very agitating when they go, it's like when somebody goes, they present these 3 ideas to you, right? Pedophiles are bad and should be killed. Idea 1. Mm-hmm. Idea 2, trans people are pedophiles. And idea 3, they don't need an idea 3. They only have to have the 2.
They connected the 2, yep.
And then they'll go, no, you're wrong. We're not saying we need to kill trans people. Why would you ever even suggest that? Yeah. That would be horrible. Mm-hmm. And you're like, but you said we should execute the pedophiles. Yes. And you think that being trans around kids is a form of pornography. That one's listed in Project 2025. It's on page 38. Because I had this conversation last night with somebody, so I remember the exact page it was on. It's on page 38 of the document, page 5 of the actual written word. They want to label being transgender as being pornographic. Okay, cool. What would you consider it? Would you consider it bad? Would you consider it pedophilic to force a child to view pornography? Well, yes, of course. Okay, cool. So if you agree with those things, are you saying you want to kill trans people because them existing around a child is pornographic, therefore pedophilic, and therefore they should die? Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. But you said all of those things. In that order, you just didn't string them together.
What if the child is trans? Because like I'm getting a level with you. Youngest kid of my partner, probably trans. She's 5, so like this is one of those things where it could just be a kid doing kid things, because she is also a cat most days.
Okay.
And like I don't expect that she's going to remain a cat. However, according to all the experts, according to all the fucking people we have, like all the experts that we have spoken to directly, as well as all the research that I've done, hi Saki, is basically just let them be.
Are you doing refills? Water, thank you.
It's basically just let them be who they want to be, and like worst case scenario, they change their mind at some point. Or they don't. Like, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. The stakes are so fucking low. But, like, would that count as pornographic? Is letting her be a her? When she's 5?
And if that counts as pornographic, and if that child counts as trans... Like it's a terrifying set of ideas to string together, but they're stringing them together. They just don't want to admit they're stringing the ideas together. It's the same fucking shit. It's the same shit here when like all of the things are laid out, all of the ways in which women would be tracked, their period apps would be tracking them. They're like, no, that's not what we want to do. I mean, it's gonna happen.
What we would do.
It's gonna happen, but it's not what we want. Why would we ever want that?
We didn't say we'd do that. It's just what we're going to do.
It's just happening, you know.
In a similar vein, they also so the national abortion ban. So they say again, this is a really short section because realistically they can't really say anything against us. But so Harris said if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. J.D. Vance said that Trump would sign a national abortion ban. When pressed on it, Trump threw J.D. Vance right the fuck under that bus. He was like, I don't talk to the guy that I chose to be my vice president.
I don't talk to JD Vance. Why don't you talk?
Why don't you talk to your vice president?
Pick? What?
Why did you pick him as vice president if you don't think he's someone worth talking to? And then JD Vance is in the back going like, "Okay, good. How long have you worked here? Okay, good. I will continue walking."
Okay, good. He sounded like a non-human in that fucking sweet shop.
Did you see the fucking TikTok of the guy that was like, he was being JD Vance going through a park talking to people? And be like,
I have not seen it.
How long have you been walking? Okay, good. Moving, and like he wouldn't give them a chance to answer, and like, oh, it's. Let me see if I can fucking find it.
I did not see that, but that sounds amazing. Yes, I am real, man. You want to go skateboards? Do you want to go skateboards? Jesus Christ. Oy, oy, oy. In that case, I imagine they call the parents or teachers. Yeah.
Found it.
Thank you, love.
Can you hear this?
Hi, Kat. Hi, Rhino.
Can you hear that?
I can hear that. Yes.
Okay.
Run to the car. Okay, good.
Thank you for the hydrate, mathematician dragon.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
That's so great.
Oh my God. It's God, when I went over that moment, it seemed like he's never spoken to a human being before.
And so here's the thing. I watched that clip. I watched him ordering the donuts without the sound. I just read the subtitles. And then I saw that clip of that guy being like, okay, good, whatever. And I was just like, okay, he's exaggerating. That's not actually how bad it was. And then I watched the clip with sound on. I was like, no, he was spot fucking on. He nailed it.
Okay, good.
Oh, apparently the fucking... God damn it. Apparently you could hear it, but my chat could not.
Oh. Okay, good.
Oh, no. We're going to have to... Oh.
We're going to have fun, everyone.
We're going to have to watch that again.
Okay, good. So are we reading a Fox article right now, or is it straight from a think tank? God, thinking is a really hard thing that some of these people
this is from Benny Johnson, I think. Let me just add this as an audio source so you guys can actually hear it. Which... OBS tells me that that's in beta. Okay.
I like that everybody in my chat. Okay, good.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you have to watch this hilarious video.
You're a leisurely stroll in the park as a human does, and I thought I would interact with some other humans that I come across. Here comes one now. Hello, I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
So how long have you been walking for?
Today or in general?
Okay, good.
Wait.
I think this is going pretty good so far. Oh, I spot a motherly figure with a smaller human being. Hi, I'm JD Vance. How old are you, little girl?
I'm 8.
8? Oh, wow, I was 8 once. How about you, Mom? Were you ever 8?
Was I ever 8?
Okay, good.
Mom, can we go home? Yes, honey, run to the car.
Oh, would you look at that? Another
Right.
human being with a smaller creature attached to a leash. Hi, I'm JD Vance. What's that?
Are you asking what kind of breed he is?
For how long?
For how old he is or how long I've had
How
him?
long have you been walking?
I'm sorry, are you asking how our walk?
Okay, good. I love to mingle with the people. Here comes another one now. Hi, I'm JD Vance. How did you install those little wheels under your feet?
You mean my rollerblades?
Okay, good. So how long have you been walking?
Walking where?
Okay, good. My vessel is starting to crave food. I think the next person that I encounter, I'm going to ask them where a donut shop is. Hi, I'm JD Vance, Vice President running. Nearest donut shop location, please.
That'll be Beanie's on 7th Street.
JD Vance rerouting. Thanks. Okay, good.
All right, have a good day.
That's Sam Content. I see what he did with the last name there. But yeah, no, that's just brilliant. Like I was saying, like when I saw him in the donut shop with the captions that did not fully capture everything, but like, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, surely he's exaggerating with the okay goods and all that. I'm like, nope, that's actually how he said it, and that's nope, that's just how he is. So it's amazing. So yeah, anyway, Harris said that Trump would not veto a national abortion ban if it came to his desk. Trump threw Vance under the bus for that one because Vance said yes he would. He would not veto. He would totally sign a national abortion ban, and Trump was like, I can't speak to what JD Vance thinks about my positions because I never talked to him. And then he never actually said whether or not he would veto it. So clearly, this is him just trying to play both sides. He's trying to convince the pro-lifers that he's pro-life. He's trying to convince the pro-choicers he's pro-choice, and without committing to anything. But very obviously, like if you look at his actual positions and the things that he's actually done, he would totally sign an abortion ban. He would totally sign it. Absolutely. But they're trying to say that she lied when he and this was another thing that on the actual ABC fact check they were like, oh well, we actually don't know. Like they tried to spin it as though he wouldn't actually sign it, but it's like, no, the best you can do here is say that she was speculating about what he would do if he was elected. That's not a lie, that's a speculation.
Okay, good.
Rerouting.
JD Vance rerouting.
And then the whole Trump called for a bloodbath thing. So in context, the bloodbath statement did seem to be about losing jobs to China, but there was enough ambiguity in the statement that it could very easily be interpreted as a call to violence. And given his history of making ambiguous statements that his supporters actually interpret as calls to violence that they follow through with, I feel like concern about that rhetoric is pretty justified.
Just imagine Nick Fuentes sitting there going, and the big guy said that there's gonna be a bloodbath. And you know, I think he's right. And I think we should definitely do something about that. After all, the Jews, like, it's just...
So my point here was, like, normally speaking, I would give someone the benefit of the doubt, and in context, yes, that quote is not necessarily calling for violence. However, in the context of the fact that he has actually called for violence, and people have done violence in his name on numerous occasions in the past, I'm less willing to give him the benefit of the doubt here, so I'm not going to call that a lie.
Yup.
Number 7, are Americans better off today than they were 4 years ago? Then they just complained that she never answered that question, which I agree. She didn't answer that question. She dodged it, like politicians do. Could she have done better there? Probably. That ain't a lie, though. That's just a question dodge. You think Trump answered a single fucking question all night? No, absolutely not. He just complained about immigrants anytime he was asked any fucking thing, whether it was about immigrants or not. Zarask says there's another guy that kind of looks like Vance that does similar skits. He's great. Yeah, I don't know what the other guy's name is.
Okay, good.
But yeah, exactly.
That's just that. I'm just gonna keep doing that for the rest of the night because it's perfect.
Yeah, it works. So yeah, this isn't even a lie. This is list padding. So it's like, if you're having to pad your list when you're only trying to come up with 10 lies in an hour and a half debate,
all you have to do is
that
just
means,
say 8.
Like politicians lie. That's what their thing is. Like, whether you like them or not, like whatever politician you're rooting for, if it's someone you like or someone you don't like, they probably lie a bunch. Like Harris's answers on fracking lead me to believe that she does not actually believe what she's saying necessarily. She's just trying to say what will get her the most votes. That would be a lie. Now I can't really back this up with firm things yet because she's not president yet, and this is one of those things that would kind of need to be followed through on in order to be called a lie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that's one of those, like, all politicians lie, even the ones you like.
Yeah.
So, but like, this isn't even a lie. So this what this says to me is that the right-wing nut jobs who put this list together couldn't even think of 10 things that Harris lied about.
They needed to pad it out.
They had to pad the list. Because if you'll notice, like, 4 of the things in the beginning were all just abortion. So, like, that was all one thing, really.
Stretching the abortion thing for as far as they can get it to go.
So they are desperate to find lies that she supposedly told. Project 2025 is Donald Trump's plan. Harris said it was his plan. Trump replied with, "I have nothing to do with Project 2025." Saying they were out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it. Which, okay, assuming he's telling the truth there, do you really want a president who's admitting to keeping himself ignorant on purpose? I don't want to know what the super important thing to do with the election this year is, even though I want you to elect me in the election this year. I don't want to know the details about the super duper important thing in this election. How does that say this is someone you should vote for?
When Jassa in my chat went, "You know the page number?" And like, yeah, because
you're stuck in it.
I don't want to. So I have been stuck in my project to cover the entire thing. I'm stuck on like page 170 right now. And I can't go further because there's now a fucking wall in my brain for trying to go further in the document.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, but it's so easy. You just open it up, you read it to stream, and you give context to what's in there. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter that it's easy. My brain just fucking hates it.
What do you mean easy, though? Like, technically, this would have been an easy thing for me to respond to, but I went and, like, made notes and did research and read papers and... Fuck. What the fuck am I doing here, Suris? It's 10:37. We are normally wrapping up by now, and we haven't even started the fucking tweets.
I guess I'll say it this way instead. It's not that it is easy. It's that it can be easy. Your brain won't let you make this easy, and my brain won't let me make because like fair. I would begin every single video with, by the way, here's the latest thing that these dumbass politicians have said about this thing. Now let's get into the context for the art for going over more of it.
So anyway, with regard to it not being his plan, like, it's not his plan in the sense that he wrote it, because nobody's saying he wrote it. But the Republican platform that he's running on right now is copied straight out of Project 2025. And a bunch of Trump's former staff that are not the ones that have said he's a disgrace, the ones that actually stuck around with him to the end, they're the architects behind Project 2025. And it is his platform. Like, if you look at his platform, it's all stuff that can be found in Project 2025. So, like, him claiming ignorance here, at best, exposes him as an incompetent puppet that's being manipulated by his staff. That's the best case scenario here, is that he's incompetent and being manipulated.
I mean, that's what we've basically assumed is the case with his with the other dictators that he's been talking about and like lapping up. Like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
is that what he wants us to believe about him? Because he
surrounds himself with all of the best people, right?
And worst case scenario is he's just lying and he actually does have a hand in crafting the plan. But I don't think he's clever enough for that. I think he just wants the power, and if giving the Project 2025 people what they want is what he thinks will give him power, then he's willing to do that.
Yep.
Then we got the excuse me, got the Trump praise neo-Nazis and white supremacists. this gets into the whole technicality of like, yeah, no, he said there were very fine people on both sides, and then like 5 minutes later he went on to say like, oh yeah, you know, all neo-Nazis and white supremacists should be condemned. But the problem is, of the both sides, one of the sides was entirely neo-Nazis and white supremacists. So if you said there were very fine people on both sides, sure,
you included the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists.
I would have way more respect for the dude if he was just like, yeah, no, I misspoke there. The people on that side were actually bad people. But he didn't. He's trying to pretend like there were people on that side that were not neo-Nazis or white supremacists. But that's who they were. So you can't say there are very fine people on both sides when one of the sides is neo-Nazis and white supremacists, and then just be like, oh yeah, no, I don't mean the neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Then you don't mean both sides. You mean one specific side. It's the not neo-Nazi and white supremacist side. But because you said both sides, one of the sides was those people.
Yep.
That's how it is.
There are good people on both sides. You're going to include the ones that are bad.
But because Snopes did a fact check that treats Trump with all the nuance in the world, when everybody else, as soon as they make a slight slip up, they get jumped on for some fucking reason.
Yep.
They all get to link to that Snopes article and be like, yeah, no, he was actually not talking about white supremacists, even though that's the only people on that side. And then was that number? Yeah, that was number 9.
So we're at Trump
number
is
10.
above the law.
Trump is above the law. They don't even deny this one.
I would hope not after the Supreme Court ruling.
Yeah, so that's what this is about, is that Harris pointed out that with the Supreme Court ruling, the president is above the law. And like the SCOTUS literally ruled that for official acts, the president is above the law. And the quote that they pulled here, where it's John Roberts saying the president enjoys no immunity for his unofficial acts, and not everything the president does is official. The president is not above the law. All that says is that he is above the law for official acts. He's not above the law for unofficial acts. When you actually look at the rulings as to what is an unofficial act, we don't fucking know. It's so vague. Excuse me.
It's so vague that it could be an assassination attempt, and that was one of the things given
in the dissent.
In
the dissent of this very ruling, they were like, you could poison your attorney general, and that would be an official act that you can't even investigate because it's an official act. So yeah, it's just something you can do. So yes, he is above the law according to the Supreme Court, and the quote that they cited here doesn't say that he's not. Just says for unofficial acts, but then when you actually dig down to the nitty-gritty, what is an unofficial act? Fucked if anyone knows.
Yeah, it's just...
But anyway,
it's insane to me that that's even number 10, because that's not a lie.
That is how far they had to dig to even pretend that Kamala was lying at even a fraction of the rate that Trump was lying.
Why not just say the 5 things that Harris lied about? Like, if you accept that there were 4 fact checks on Trump, then saying the 5 things Harris lied about already gives you more things than Trump. You didn't need to stretch it. You didn't need to make it bigger. You didn't need any of that shit. You didn't need to turn this into a bad version of Hamburger Helper where you're stretching every dollar you've got to feed your poor people that desperately want to hear your bullshit, and it's the only thing that gives them sustenance. You don't need that.
Yeah.
They don't need filler shit. Okay.
Ooh.
Like Ooh. Jesus Christ.
I have so many ooh-woos from you. So many ooh-woos.
I began my segment on the debate with the stuff that I didn't agree with that Harris said. And I had the same issue when I was watching the debates. I was watching it this morning while making breakfast. I was like, well, I got time to do this shit. This is when I'll go ahead and watch the debate, because I wasn't home when the debate happened. So, like, there are people who are rooting for Harris who already do not like a lot of the things that she did or said in the debate. You don't need to make yourself look like a fucking liar to have those things.
I'm running out of hats. I'm gonna have to rotate through them.
Hey, just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who help keep me afloat and help keep this channel going. YouTube and Twitch are wonderful platforms, but at the end of the day, stability is not one of their strong suits. If you want to support my channel, then obviously Patreon is one of the best ways of doing that. Link is in the description. But I do want to personally thank everybody who has contributed to the channel. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Autumn and Angel, Nixie Chan, Agamotto, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. And everyone else who supports my channel and lets me do what I do full time. This is a dream job of mine that I never believed that I would be able to take full time, and with your help, I've been able to do it. So thank you so very much for that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all are having a wonderful time. I will see you all in the next one, hopefully.